service, then you will monitor only, then you will configure the service endpoint here and you will see the response time of only this particular tier. That means either it can be 39 milliseconds or 32 milliseconds. So there won't be any flow maps that are available. You won't get any snapshots as well, but you might be if this particular endpoint is featuring in a BT snapshot, then you will be seeing that. Next concept is information point. So this one is information points are used to instrument a method and capture numeric information. System metrics or custom business metrics. They have no dependency on BT, but can be invoked by one or more business transactions and capture data from those contexts. So here, what you are looking for is how your code is performing. Okay, let's say you want to know a particular method, how it is performing. So in that context, you will configure an information point. So let's say you have an important method called so over here in all of your code, you have some important item that you would like to see. Let's say, okay, now you have or a new item in your Amazon has been listed, that is this particular book. And if you want to see how many times this particular link is getting accessed or this particular method is kind of being invoked, which will in direct, it will show you saying how many times in this particular page has been viewed by the users. Okay. So for that, you will configure the information point for the method which will invoke or display this particular page.
Okay.
So, excuse me. So here you are basically seeing metrics which are related to a particular method. Okay. So
Yes.
if you want to set up an if you set up an information point to get metrics about a particular method invocation, such as credit card authentication, anytime that authentication method is invoked, the information point is triggered. So here you will see the count of that particular method that has been invoked and how long that method took to complete the transaction, or to finish the activity which has been defined in the method. So those kind of metrics you will see. So that will be response time, the number of calls per minute, errors or errors per minute. So these details you will see at the method level. Okay.
Yes.
So some kind of examples that include is how many times was the method executed, how long did it take to execute on an average, were there any errors occurred, if yes, how many errors, like how often, the errors per minute, what is the average value of the credit card totally. So if it so that also you can track it.
Okay.
How many credit cards did my application process in a certain time period, regardless of the BT? So these kind of metrics you will be able to track, or analytic,
Okay.
small kind of analytics, I can say. So if you would like to understand in your business organization some kind of metric, something like this, or there was another application which was related to the pension thing, and there they wanted to see how many retired users are actually accessing the application. So for the retired users, the age will be greater than 60 or 65. So there was a parameter that was being passed as age, and the particular function was pension. Okay. So the pension function has been invoked, and you can add a condition saying age is greater than 65. Okay. So you are invoking the information point if the age parameter is greater than 65.
Okay.
Something like this. Pension of, let's say, age. So your IP will be if pension is invoked.
Uh, it's freeze. Can you
I
share
thought
again?
I have shared this. I don't know. Let me share it again. And age is greater than 65. So if this is the method, your information point, we call it as IP, this would be the kind of condition.
What is this for?
So I
And
told you any use case, right?
okay.
So you want to know how many times this particular pension method was invoked by the retired people.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yes, true.
So in that case, I'll configure something like this information point. Okay. So how will you
Will
know
it happen
whether
in AppDynamics side or
you
in
have to do it
database
on
side?
AppDynamics side? Okay. So yeah, that's what I was coming. Like, how will you know whether you can achieve this or not? So how these things will happen is, so if the application teams comes to you with a requirement, then you
Okay.
will have to suggest them how you will be able to achieve that. Okay. Or whether it is feasible or not. So
No.
let's say they have a problem, or they have this particular situation where only the people, or only the the retired people's applications are not getting processed. Okay. Then you should be able to say, okay, let me configure an information point for this particular retired applications. Okay. And before that, you should ask them the question, are you handling this as part of a separate method where I can configure the information point, which will help you to get the number of metrics, like how many times this particular method has been invoked and how many errors are there. If there are errors, then you can actually go and fix your code in that way.
Okay.
And also you can use this as an analytical parameter as well. I told you, right? Like if this particular book is something newly added into Amazon, and you want to
Mhm.
see how many times people are using or viewing this page. Okay. Uh, if this particular page view is happening via a method invocation, then you configure the method information point, and you will see how many users are viewing this page and how long the method is taking to load the page. Okay. Those kind of details. And are there any errors? How many errors are there? Like that. Only you will be getting the metric data. You will not get snapshots or anything.
Mhm.
So information points can capture how a method is performing, as well as the data from a method's parameters or return values. So you can get the parameter or return values also only if it is a numeric value. So that is how you will be able to read the uh, average value of the credit card. Okay.
Yes.
So in this my case, I will not be able to read the name, but I will be able to read the age. So there was a problem. A company had two separate credit card validation business transactions. They wanted to track the total number of credit card validations across the organization. So set up an information point to collect and aggregate information beyond the context of a single BT. So you can uh, configure an IP which will collect both the metrics which will collect the information point data for both the validation methods. So that has to be performed by a single method.
Where, in which side we have to create an IP?
It's on the AppDynamics side itself.
This is a
Let me show.
scenario, real scenario, right?
Yeah, it's a real scenario.
Mhm. So this is AppDynamics side configuration.
So here you have information points, not in the configuration. And then you will give the name of the information point. Just give me 1 second, sorry.
Yes.
And okay, I'm back. So you will give the name of the information point and then the agent type. Okay.
Okay.
And you will give which particular class and the method that has to be invoked. Okay. If that particular method is invoked, what kind of data you will read. Again, if you are if you want to read a parameter data, you will have to give that. Otherwise, you can ignore that. Okay, then you will only see how many times a method has been invoked. You can also do some uh, transaction like averaging. Say if you are reading a return value of the amount cart total. In case of Amazon's example, the total amount of cart value. If you are reading that, then you can average it up, or you can sum it up in the time frame that you are viewing it. Okay, so when will you sum it? If you are reading the cart value, then you can may take an average of the cart value in the last 1 hour. If you want to read the total number of items that have been ordered in last 1 day, or like in your time frame that you have selected, then you can actually make it as an aggregate or the sum of it. Okay, am I clear, or you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
so that's where the information point is about. Okay, now you might have got a thing like how different it is from the data collector, because the configuration looks same, right?
Yes.
So how different is it from the data collector? Do you have any guess?
Not really.
So we discussed about data collectors also, right? Before
Yes.
that. So even in data collectors also, you are kind of uh, configuring it on the method level itself. You are reading the parameter values, or in case of HTTP, you have additional one more type, that is HTTP data collectors. There you
Yes.
are reading the cookies, session data, etc. But here, let's say information point and data collector, method invocation data collector, both are similar. Here also you are providing the class name, method name. Here you are seeing the case of information point, you are seeing how your method is performing, how many times your method has been invoked. Okay.
Okay.
But in case of data collectors, you are reading that particular parameter or the data, which is a string value, and you are adding it in the snapshot. You are not uh, worried about the performance of your method in case of data collectors. Okay. That's the basic difference. That is what we are discussing here now. So data collectors fall within the context of a business transaction and it reads a string data. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
this data collector will help you either in the troubleshooting or in the case of data analytics.
Okay.
Now, in case of information point or service endpoint, they are not, they do not fall in the context of a BT. They fall like in the overall application purview and they are giving you the numeric metric data. So how a endpoint is performing or how a particular method is doing. Is your method completing its data on time or not? In that way, it is working. Okay.
Okay.
Data collectors and information points both collect the numeric values, the data passed into the application. So both of them will can are able to read the data, but information point will read the numeric data. Data collector will read the string data. Okay.
Yes. Do I have this document also, or you will send
You
it to
have
me?
it's the same document, it's the same PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let's go to the alert and respond model. Just 1 second. So here we have the alert and respond model. So how the so now we have set up the monitoring, right? Now what do we
Mm-hmm.
do with the data? Like so we are okay with the troubleshooting in case of in case if we have some error and we will go and check out the transaction snapshots etc and we will do the troubleshooting part. However, how do we know if there was an error? Because there has to be an alerting mechanism that has to be provided to us. That is what is been covered over here. And in this there is one thing called as alerting model and the second thing is about the response model. Like once you have got an alert, what is the action that has to be taken? Whether it has to send a notification to you, or should it take a diagnostic snapshot, or should it run a remediation script, or will it have to do an HTTP request, or should it perform a custom action? So these are the this will come in the response model, and the health rule section will come in the alerting model. Okay, so this is how AppD's reactive, I mean, they say proactive alerting mechanism, but the once the issue has occurred or once the thresholds are breached, then what is the action that has to be taken? Okay, so this is the model that is taken. Now, metrics and baselines. So I hope you are already aware about baselines.
Which one?
Baseline.
We have done, right?
No, no. I was just asking like you because you said you had you have watched some videos and all.
I don't remember it.
Okay.
This part comes under which section? Like
So
data
over here,
collectors, right? Or
no, no,
alert and response?
yeah, this is new.
I know, I know. It comes under which data collectors or alert and response
So
or
alert and respond is new again. Data collectors is over.
yes,
Data collectors information points is done. Now we
yes.
are talking about how do we set up alerting and how do we work on
Oh, okay.
the actions and setting up the policy.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh,
So it comes under alert and response section, right?
yeah. So this is a new thing. Earlier we never used to have a configuration type for anomaly detection. Okay. So we also have something called as metric browser as well in your application. Okay. So all
Mhm.
the metrics that you see here, they are captured in the metric browser of your application. Okay. So for every node tier, everything you will see here. So under API services, you have the agent related metrics also, like whether
Okay.
the app agent is reporting or not.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes.
The agent's availability. And then you have the hardware resources.
Order.
If you have your machine agent configured, then you will see your machine agent related metrics as well. Okay. And then you have individual node level metrics. So there is a node called API
Yes.
services. And for that, this particular node, what is the data that is being consumed? Okay. This is the aggregate of the whole tier. Okay. So, and this metric browser is where all the numeric metric data that you are seeing will be captured. So let's say you are seeing this one 76 metric millisecond average response time, right? If you want to see that in a graphical format, just click on this. That will come in the
Mhm.
metric browser will open here and you will be able to see the metric path of the metric browser. So this path you will have to expand and you have to see, and you can also copy full path or copy REST URL to access this data. So REST URL, you can invoke this. I have copied the URL. So if you do a postman call or an API call, I mean a GET call to this particular endpoint, you should get the metric value of this particular data. Like you say in the last 5 minutes, here you have parameters. So here you are passing a parameter called duration in minutes, right? So this
Mhm.
particular time, if you pass it, then you will get the data of what kind of metric you are trying to see. So here you are seeing application performance, average response time in milliseconds. Okay, so that is the data that you will get when you do a get call to this endpoint.
Okay.
Got it? So, and however, there is also another one, right? Like copy full path. This particular path, you will use it in the overall in your health rules to configure this particular alert on this particular metric. Okay. Health rule, I will show that where you will use it or how you will use it. So these are the two things. And I hope you got the get call, post call, right? You are aware of that, right?
No.
Okay. So APIs, no idea about
Yes, yes,
APIs.
API, yes.
Yeah, it's an API. It's a
Ah,
get API or put or post API. So post we are not doing it here. We can do plot metrics also, but I'm just telling you about. So if this data you want to see uh, in an API call from an external application. So how do I say? Let's if you want to consume this, if you want to send this data to another application via an API, then you can use the API and send it. So that
mhm.
particular API is provided here. Copy REST URL. You give this particular endpoint to the application which is being used, and you should authenticate it. So the user should have the relevant permission. That's all.
Okay, what is the use case for that? For example?
Yeah. Sometimes your data will be plotted in another. Have you heard of Grafana, right?
Yes,
Or Power BI? So
exactly.
you already have a dashboard. Okay, your existing dashboard. In that dashboard, you want to plot one more metric. Okay, you have dashboards in AppDynamics also, but you want to use your existing dashboard.
Okay,
You have a dashboard in Grafana or Power BI where you are already watching some metrics. In addition to that, you want to see the average response time or total number of calls for on your application on Supercard Trade application. So what you will do, you will take this particular REST URL, okay, and you will configure this particular uh, you will provide this particular REST URL in your Power BI dashboard, okay, and then you will have to authenticate as well to AppDynamics. So whenever you make this call, okay, so
okay,
duration in minutes instead of 111,520, that means in the last 8 days I will make it. So let's say you want to plot the data for every 5 minute data. Okay, every 5 minute data you are going to plot it in your Power BI dashboard. Okay, so I will take the last 5 minutes data, and then I will also create a user in AppDynamics for my Power BI to authenticate to AppDynamics, and I will give this URL. Then every 5 minutes, uh, this kind of graph will be plotted in your Power BI also. So along with your additional uh, metrics which you're already using in your Power BI, you can also see the supercar traders calls per minute. You got it?
mhm. Yes,
So these are for the you are accessing the data from outside. You
yes,
create a
right.
user, provide a permissions just to access the metrics or read the metrics,
Metrics.
and then
Yes.
share the end.
Give them the REST URL.
Yes, give them the rest URL. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, I just got some emergency. I'll have to
Yes,
leave
sure.
for the day. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Tomorrow again we will meet in the same time, evening itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
Or do you need it in the morning? Morning.
Morning would be better if you can.
10:30 morning, my time. 10:30 to 10:30 or 11.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. 10:30.
Sure. Okay. We'll meet tomorrow then.
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Okay. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.